Ahoy! Eli again, coming at you from OSA Coventry here in front of this beautiful Peninsula tank that's going to go through some major changes over the course of the next week. This tank behind me here is our water box Peninsula 6025. It's about 180 gallons total, and it's been set up here since we set up at this Coventry location, and it's already gone through a few different iterations. First and foremost, it had a bunch of plastic plants in it. Really pretty community tank. As of late, it's been more of a hardscape tank, and I actually went over a video when we first changed this tank over to strictly hardscape to kind of show you guys that change. But yet again, we are going to change this puppy up, and I hope for the better. So whereas this tank's been hardscaped for a little while now, and I really do like the look of it, we have been moving toward the direction of live plants in a lot of our aquariums, and we finally started carrying some CO2 products to dose carbon dioxide directly into your aquarium water to make it a little bit easier to care for aquarium plants, especially when you get into stem plants. So we're gonna try that out on this tank. Planning on taking out a lot of the livestock that you see here. There are some fish in this tank that really are not going to get along well with a planted community tank down the road. This tank still has a handful of severums in it, still has some waru, both known to shred up especially more delicate stem plants. There's also a black ghost knife fish in here, some pictus catfish, and some other things that might be predatory towards some of your smaller community fish. And since we're gonna kind of lean in that direction with this new build, I'm planning on removing all of those guys today. Some of them will go to our other display tanks, and some might end up back out for sale. As for equipment for this tank, we are going to have to change things up a little bit. As I just mentioned, we are going to throw a 20-pound CO2 tank under the stand for this tank, which should last us for quite a while. But with this being a sumped aquarium, in comparison to, say, a tank that's on a canister filter or hang-on back filters, the plumbing that's set up on the sumped tank actually does affect the gas exchange in the water. So a lot of your CO2 might actually be lost from the tank volume as it hits the sump. So we might burn through a little more gas than we typically would in your average planted aquarium. However, this might allow us to kind of push the limits of the CO2 tank, get a little more CO2 into this water in a safe manner that is able to be off-gassed if we do go a little too far, so we don't risk the health of the fish. On this tank, we have a regulator, and this has a built-in solenoid valve so that we can throw this on a timer and kind of emulate the light cycle of the lighting so that the CO2 is only being dosed when the lights are on, as that's when it's most useful for the plants to be able to be taken up. And we should avoid any large drastic pH swings by doing so, as the plants are going to produce oxygen at night and they don't need that excess CO2 when the lights are out. So ideally this is going to be on a timer, and it should be turning on a little bit after the lights come on and turning off a little bit before the lights go off so that we don't have excess CO2 in the dark hours. And as for escape with this tank, I am going to remove a little bit of that wood, but I do want to focus a little bit on that spider wood that's already been pre-soaked in this tank. And we are mostly going to go with a sand substrate that I'm probably just going to load up with root tabs so that the plants have a little more nutrients versus using a strictly planted substrate. However, that might change down the road depending on how our results look. In addition to running the CO2 on this tank, the next important thing is the lighting. This tank already has 2 freshwater AI primes, which are totally rated to handle the plant growth in this tank. However, we do have a couple more kicking around. I may end up throwing 1 or 2 more on this tank just to spruce up that lighting, brighten it up a little bit, so that we're getting adequate light all the way to the bottom of this aquarium so that we have enough light power going on to grow all of these stem plants, as this is quite a deep tank, about 24 or 25 inches. I suppose all that's left to do is to start pulling stuff out of this tank, start catching some of the fish out and moving them around, and I will update you guys once we get this tank rolling with plants and CO2.
So right now, we just got in a massive order of Dimax. This is actually going into all 3 locations. Gonna load it up. This is all for CO2, high-tech, planted aquariums. So I can't wait to show you guys from diffusers, optimizers. We even brought in fish food. The amount we're gonna have, what you're gonna see coming up in the stores is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to show you guys all the new gear that's coming in.
One of the first things we got is a mini aquarium siphon. Really cute. Really small, great for nano tanks. Especially probably really good for nano planted tanks. Oh, lily pipe holders. Really great. They're clear too. So they'll definitely be able to blend into your tank so you won't see them.
These are drop checkers. This is how you determine what your CO2 levels are in your tank. This shows green, which is the ideal what you go for. They start off as blue. So with the CO2, once it comes on, because it doesn't stay on when the lights are on, so it'll come on an hour before your lights go on in your planted tank. And then what this will do, and this is how you gauge that you're getting the most saturation of CO2 into your water. And so once it turns green, you know you're all right. If it gets yellow, you have a problem and you have to back off your CO2.
So we've got some really cool glass lily pipes and some of the hose cleaners and also some stainless steel scissors for trimming plants. We also got this ultra black water supplement in, which is really good to mimic black water tanks and high tannin contents, especially if you have a little bit more of a seasoned aquarium where all the tannins have leached out of your wood. This is really great to supplement that back in so you can remain that look as your aquarium ages.
That's all for today while I tear this tank apart and catch the fish out of it. I should be able to get this rescaped by the end of the day. You guys stay tuned. Look out for Friday. We should be coming out with the second half of this so you can see how it comes out. As always, keep it fishing.